This Sunday is the 4th of October, which is the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi, one of the most beloved figures in historical Christianity. John Ross mentioned last week that there have been more books about St. Francis of Assisi than anyone else in Christianity other than Jesus himself. And so we can realize that St. Francis touches something very important to our faith. We associate the Feast of St. Francis mostly with pet blessings, and that's sort of culturally been how we have integrated St. Francis into our own spirituality. And in fact, we will have a pet blessing this Sunday at Lakeshore Church. But we will be celebrating Francis's life all through the day at the 8 o'clock and 10:30 service, and then also at Evensong at 5 o'clock. For the 8 and 10:30 services that will be here downtown, we will really be thinking about Francis's connection with the natural world. We'll have a reading from Job that really talks very eloquently about knowing God through nature. And then we'll also hear Jesus' words from the Sermon on the Mount, where he talks about considering the lilies of the field and the birds of the air. And it was that sort of simplicity and trust and delight in creation that Francis has bequeathed to us. We will begin the service. The prelude and the postlude, the organ voluntaries that surround the service, will be pieces that were written for St. Francis, a suite for St. Francis. It will first start off with the prelude, the third movement of that suite, the Earth Carol, and the last movement of that piece will be the postlude, Canticle of the Sun. And there are some inscriptions that will appear in the order of worship that are from the writings of St. Francis. And then our opening hymn, All Creatures of Our God and King, is a translation of poetry by St. Francis with this really super majestic tune, Lasst uns erfreuen. Continuing with that theme of delighting in beauty of creation, at the sequence hymn between the Job reading and the passage from the Sermon on the Mount, we will sing All Things Bright and Beautiful, a really joyous and uplifting hymn. And then our final hymn of the service will be for the gifts of all creation. Thanks be to God. Again, a very Franciscan sort of take on things, but a poetry that dates from the 20th century by the British hymn poet F. Pratt Green, and here matched with a tune written for these words by Francis Jackson. For those of you who have been around St. John's for a while, this is a hymn that we sing several times through the year, and it has such a majestic sweep through the words and through the music. We invite you to pay special attention to those words. The choir will also be singing some things that are very familiar to us here. We'll be singing at the offertory some poetry about Christ has a garden, and this idea that we are the Lord's planting, and that we can be that joy of creation that Francis was so in touch with. And this setting uses the British folk tune, O Waly Waly. And at communion, they'll be singing Jesus Christ the Apple Tree, again, imagining Christ as part of the natural order. So we hope that you will worship with us throughout the day, here downtown at 8 o'clock, out at Lakeshore Park at 9 o'clock, either here downtown or on YouTube at 10:30, and of course coming back for Evensong at 5 o'clock. And we hope that you will all enjoy the beauties of creation this St. Francis Day.